U.S. farmers harvested about 81 million acres of corn last year. And when it comes to the corn we eat, there's a good chance it started with a seed that Monsanto produced. But despite the company's prominent role in our food system, critics have railed against it. This corn is special.
This is a pretty remarkable plant when you think about it.
You can call it super corn. It's drought and bug resistant, and it grows faster. That's because scientists for Monsanto, like Rob Fraley, re-engineered the seed's chemical makeup. The result? A genetically modified organism.
Today, GMO crops are grown in 30 countries on nearly 450 million acres. It's the most rapidly adopted new technology in the history of agriculture.
Of course, he's biased. He helped invent the technology, which has been a moneymaker for Monsanto. The company sold $8.2 billion worth of GMO corn and soybeans last year. But despite the popularity of its products, Monsanto has been sharply criticized by people and organizations who question the safety of GMO crops. Why do you think they've gotten such a bad rap?
These products have now been in the marketplace for 20 years, and there's not been a single food or feed safety issue ever associated with the technology.
And yet, Monsanto's CEO says conversations about GMOs go beyond the lab.
You think about 2 billion new citizens, you think about a warming planet, and you think about water. These are appropriate conversations. The thing that drives me a little bit nuts in this, the frustrating piece in this is it's such a polarized debate, and I don't think it should be, because we're going to need all of these kinds of agriculture.
There's a broad difference between the views that scientists have about the safety of GMOs and what the public has.
While there's little scientific research that links GMO foods with adverse health outcomes in humans, scientists have raised concerns over the environmental impact.
But now what you're seeing is many, many resistant weeds because there's been overuse and misuse of those crops by farmers and by the developers.
Let me explain. GMO crops have been designed to withstand high doses of pest and weed killers so that farmers can spray more of those chemicals without damaging their crops. But over time, nature fights back, breeding bugs and weeds that can tolerate high amounts of those toxins. Those views may have colored public perception. It's part of the reason Monsanto just lost a big battle over labeling GMO foods.
Consumers ought to know now whether or not food has been genetically engineered. In fact, 90% of the American public says they want this kind of information.
Senator Richard Blumenthal is working on making GMO food labels mandatory. It's already happening in Vermont, where a law takes effect in July. And companies like Campbell's, General Mills, and Mars just added GMO labels to products after years of resisting them. But Monsanto keeps fighting.
Resistance to change is common among big companies. I think if they have regard and respect for their consumers, they'll do the right thing, as some companies have done, and support labels.
The Environmental Working Group says Monsanto has spent $24 million fighting GMO state labeling laws. Why?
Well, the challenge with state by state is you end up with a patchwork quilt of labels. You end up confusing the consumer more, potentially.
How is the consumer confused by that?
Because the standards and the information in that label potentially are going to be different everywhere in the country.
Perhaps, but the real concern for seed companies like Monsanto may be that slapping warning labels on a GMO product triggers worries about its safety. And if food companies see sales drop, they can drop GMO ingredients entirely, which could kill Monsanto's business. The majority of its $10 billion in seed sales are GMO products.
What I worry about more than anything else is whether the science has gotten so far ahead of the policymakers and the decision makers. I would hate us to start making the wrong decisions about science and technology and innovation for the wrong reasons.